Welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk on the Life in Alberta YouTube channel. Today, very special guest. I'm so excited to have a chance to talk to Crystal. Crystal is an intuitive Reiki master and a psychic medium. She connects with your spirit guides, loved ones, and even past pets to bring you pure, honest, and healing messages. She believes that spirit continually sends signs and symbols as a way of trying to get our attention and remind us that they are with us every day. She's convinced that we are all intuitive and very capable of picking up on signs and symbols from spirit. So I'm again so excited to have this interview and ask questions. I'd like to welcome to Coffee Talk and Life in Alberta, Crystal. How are you doing, Crystal?
I'm good. How are you doing this morning?
Oh, it's a beautiful October morning. A little bit of rain over the weekend, and getting ready for that Halloween spirit, and then into the cold winter that Canada usually gets. How are you doing?
Fantastic. It's getting a little crispy in the mornings, I've
Yeah,
noticed. So,
yeah, it is. So today we're going to introduce the audience to a little bit about the spiritual medium. We'll leave the Reiki master maybe for another episode and some of the other services that you provide. Today, we're going to focus on that, again, that spiritual medium aspect of what you do. And maybe just to kind of get started, tell the audience a little bit about how you got started in channeling and into becoming a medium.
so I was born like this. um, it's intuitive because it's one of those things that just comes naturally, and as a small child, I actually used to see figures walking through the house and walking down the hallway, and yeah, exactly like that photo you're showing right now. I used to see, a little secret is I used to go to bed, and after everyone else would go to bed, I would get up and I'd sleep on the floor, and I'd have my head out the bedroom facing down the hallway so that I could see if anything was coming, because I would see these figures and I knew that there was more to life than just what we can see here on the human level. So it was a scary thing, and when I would see things, of course, then I would run into my mom and dad's room to hide and do the hide under the covers thing. But I definitely wanted to see what was coming before it got to me. So it was a little frightening, but as things progress, you learn to work um, with the energy a little bit better. But as a child, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and you you incorporate pets into your channeling as well. So have you grown up like always with a lot of pets, or you do you feel a strong connection to animals? Is that's why you maybe can feel you can channel, the pet activity as well? How do animals kind of tie into what you do?
It's interesting that you ask that, because when all of these things were taking place and I was sneaking out of my bed to see down the hallway every night, my little dog, I used to have a little dog that would sleep on my bed, and she was a rescue and she was amazing. But she was every night she'd go to bed with me, and she was like my big protector. So every night she'd follow me onto the floor, and we'd look down the hallway and make sure there was nothing there. But she was very special, and I actually learned to communicate with pets through her, and knowing what she was thinking and saying, and what her body language meant. And she knew the same of me, and we just got to know each other and kind of grew up together. And I guess that's where I discovered that I could communicate with animals and know what they needed and what they were asking for. And we were pretty tight. So
Yeah, cool. And we'll get more into the pets and the channeling with them a little bit later. you kind of, you do a lot of different things with not only channeling but the Reiki master. And one other kind of talent that you have or that you provide is tea leaf reading. Can you maybe kind of talk a little bit about your practice with reading the leaves?
So I don't do that professionally, but I do definitely play with it and I like it. And I grew up reading tea leaves, and I had a grandmother that was adopted. We adopted her as our grandmother. My dad adopted her as our grandmother. And she would read tea leaves for all of us, even the kids. It was never anything crazy or scary, or, it was just part of she'd look into our teacup and she'd say, "Oh, you're doing something at school. You're doing really well. You're going to get an award." And she would tell our future and predict what was going to happen and what was already happening through the tea leaves. So, growing up, we grew up with it. And, really, it's just an intuitive, you look into the cup and see what shapes and symbols are coming up in the tea leaves. So when we're working with energy, it's very similar to, it's just a tool. So it's very similar to any other activity where you can look and see the signs and symbols in the tea leaves versus in nature or some other aspect. So
Okay, so very cool. So that was again part of your, nurturing and part of the experiences you had with your grandmother that kind of led you along the path that you follow today.
absolutely.
Yeah. So again, I am no expert in channeling and reading leaves and palms and tarot cards and all those kind of things. I am a beginner, a rookie, but I love learning about it. I love that mysticism and spirituality component to it. So again, we're going to kind of focus on the channeling aspect today. But when I was growing up, my mother would go and see. I don't know if it's the modern day channeler, but she would go and see the gypsy or the fortune teller, or she would go to different machines at the amusement parks and have her fortune kind of read there. And would you say that channeling is kind of the verbiage, the word that we use for fortune tellers today, or is channeling something completely different?
I think it all streams together in one way or another. So it's all energy work. It's all, now when I think of a gypsy or a fortune teller, I always think, that there's all those gimmicks and all those costumes and the big earrings, and and I think if it looks like a gimmick, it's probably a gimmick. But I use the word medium or channel, and those are still very common words to use. Gypsy's kind of a little old, I suppose, but yeah, definitely the same kind of idea where it's energy coming in. And I always describe it as I'm receiving energy that I'm trying to put into words to relay a message. So, if you think of a word like love, for example, how do you put that into words when we know what love feels like? To try and put that into words is a little bit tricky sometimes.
I guess maybe for the average person out there that really doesn't know what channeling is, maybe just give us kind of the Cole's Note version of what is channeling. How would you explain that to a person that has no idea what channeling is?
So, channeling is opening up your energy to receive the energy of the universe or your higher self or your spirit guides, angels, whoever it is that you're wanting to connect with, and allowing that information to come in and merge with your energy so that you can receive the messages from the universe. And essentially, in a nutshell, that's it. It's just energy coming in that you're maybe translating into words to give messages or receive signs and symbols. And how do those things relate to your life right now?
Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And then what are the different ways that we can channel this energy?
So there's the six psychic senses is what we call them, and some people don't recognize all six. Some people will recognize even more, but there's the six basic what we call psychic senses. So the first one is the most popular, and that's the clairvoyance, and that's the one that people have heard about through the times, and that's the ability to see things. So when we're clairvoyant, we would maybe see messages in our mind's eye that we can get pictures and visions, and sometimes it looks like a movie that's playing in your mind, or sometimes you can see things in real life that would hold a message. Sometimes you can see visions like the shadow figures that I saw coming down the hallway. That's clairvoyance, where you would see something that's not in the physical realm.
Okay. So again, as a new person, I think of, when you say you kind of see things and you like a movie kind of things. Well, I think of that movie, The Sixth Sense. I see dead people. Is that clairvoyance? Was that child utilizing the clairvoyant channeling method?
Yeah, he that was definitely one of the methods that he was using. And he's used a couple of more examples we'll get to as well. But yeah,
Okay.
definitely when he sees dead people, he can see them, and that's clairvoyance.
Okay. So when people see ghosts or when people see an apparition of something, that would be the clairvoyant aspect of channeling.
And also if people are dreaming, sometimes the things that you see in your dreams are
Okay.
definitely a form of clairvoyance as well.
Okay. Now I can't remember what the term is for it, but there are people that can, through meditation, they can go to a different time, a different place. They can go in the future, in the past. They can connect with a different realm, so to speak. Is that clairvoyance or is that something completely different?
So that's called astral travel, when you can take your essentially your spirit and move it to a different timeline or a different place. And you can do that in your sleep, sometimes without even knowing it, but you can also do that through meditation, where you can astral travel to a different place to see, feel, hear, experience that place from a spirit perspective instead of with your body.
Okay, so that would be encompassed within the channeling realm then. That is part of channeling is when you can
Yep,
astral project or travel.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I guess the second sense would be hearing, things to do auditory. So maybe walk us through that aspect.
So when we talk about clairaudience, that's the ability to hear messages. So sometimes that is actually sounds that we would hear, someone calling your name and there's no one there. Or most popularly, it's going to come through thoughts that it's like a thought that'll enter your mind. So if you're thinking about a hockey game, and all of a sudden, ice cream pops into your head, and the two are completely unrelated. That's probably a message from the other side that's coming in. Again, it's easy to miss if you're not paying attention, if you're not open to the idea that that might be an idea coming in. You might just write it off and say, I'm going to go finish watching the hockey game. But that's how the clairaudience works, is it's often a thought that enters your mind that allows a message to come in that way.
Okay. So we've got the seeing, we've got the hearing. A lot of times people that, you know, have the intuitive ability, because you said everyone has the ability. A lot of times it's more of a feeling that people have. They don't see it, they don't hear it, they just have this strong sense, a strong feeling. So maybe guide us through that aspect, that psychic sense.
So if we talk about the feeling, um, that's clairsentience. So that will come through as maybe an emotion, or an overwhelming emotion. Sometimes people will feel, I'm happy, I'm having a great day, and all of a sudden now I feel like I'm crying, or I feel sad. um, that's clairsentience. That's a feeling that overcomes you, an emotion. Now, another part of clairsentience is an actual feeling. Sometimes you might feel like you have a brush of something on your skin, or maybe you'll feel like you receive goosebumps, for example, or static electricity you're feeling on your skin. That is also clairsentience. So it's feeling, whether it's emotional or physical.
Okay, so yeah, that's that physical, some sort of physical change in your body. Could be emotion, it could be, like you said, the goosebumps, or maybe pain or something like that, or just something out of the ordinary that you would feel.
Yeah, and pain is actually a common one.
Okay.
Um, you say you're a rookie, but pain's a common one. So if you're communicating with someone and all of a sudden you have a headache, they might have a headache, or they might have something going on that you're picking up on.
Okay. See, I'm a quick learner. Yes.
You're good at
How
this.
how about so now I kind of know what that the feeling aspect of it is, but sometimes people just know something and they're confident. And I think that's important in terms of building your intuitive ability is being confident. If you know something's going to happen, and the more confident you are in it happening, the bigger chance it will happen. I think it's almost part of that manifesting something you want to take place, and then it takes place.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that psychic sense where you know something will happen. For example, I think an example would be you're listening to the radio, and all of a sudden, I the Tiger is going to come on, right? The Survivor, I the Tiger, it's going to come on. You feel it, you know it, and then 2 songs later, it takes place. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, 100%. You've done your homework. Good. There will be a test at the end. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, yeah, so that's called claircognizance, and that's the knowing part of our intuition. So you know that song's gonna come on the radio. You know the phone is gonna ring. You know who's calling when you hear the phone ring. You can sometimes it'll happen where you walk up to someone and say, "Oh, that lady's pregnant." You just, how do you know that? I don't know. I just know. You can't explain it either. It's almost as if or to take a different route home because you just felt like turning left instead of right that day, but then you find out there was an accident. So if you would have went that way, you would have been delayed. And there's not really any way to explain it, but trusting it is extremely important. Just go with it, because your team is not going to lead you in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Okay. And that, personally for myself, of all the different senses, I've believe that's probably the strongest one for myself is just knowing something's going to take place. Let's go to another one. Sometimes people their channeling or their intuitiveness kicks in when they smell something, or a change in the atmosphere triggers something, and it allows them to become intuitive. Maybe talk about that aspect.
Yeah, that's actually, and it's one that's easily overlooked, but it's called clairalience, and that one is your sense of smell. So you might smell something in the room, for example, cigarette smoke or a cigar for someone who smoked, or quite often someone will come in and show me what their perfume smells like, because they were a person who wore perfume and that was their signature. Or just recently, I had a client that had a grandmother come in, and her entrance was the smell of baking bread, and she was known for making homemade bread. and it's just a validation of who's coming in. So when you smell something that you weren't expecting to smell, or you weren't creating a smell or having an air freshener or something, for example, then it's probably a sign or symbol that someone else is around and coming in to try and say, hey, you know what, I'm here.
Okay. And I guess the sixth one then would be is tasting something where you all of a sudden you bite into something or you sample something in a store and you get these messages. Maybe talk a little bit about the taste aspect.
Yeah, so clairgustance is the aspect of taste. So if a lemon is a great one, because that's a really easy taste to imagine. So if you imagine biting into a lemon and what that tastes like and what that feels like, maybe it makes your mouth pucker, or maybe, it gives you that fresh citrus taste. And that's exactly what it is. So sometimes intuitively we get a taste. It could be a lemon, it could be peppermint, it could be, quite often the grandparents that had those signature candies, whether they were Werthers, or for my grandparents, it was those little raspberry hard candies. I don't even know if we make those anymore, but that taste can bring about a memory that allows their energy to pop in. So if they're known for that signature taste, or Scotch mints was my grandfather, then that's them coming in to say, you know what, I'm with you. I'm supporting you. I've got you back, and all of these things. So yeah, taste is
Interesting.
huge.
Yeah. So, kind of recapping, the six senses here. You talked about, or we talked about the movie The Sixth Sense, and you said that there were other components of that as well. So, in terms of the knowing, any examples? Because I think most people have seen that movie. Any examples of that sense?
So he also, there was a point in that movie where he was in the car with his mom, and he looked at her and he gave her mom a message from her mom, and she started crying. It was something about she saw you dance or something like that, I think is was the message. And that's like, he just knew that. He knew that his grandmother had saw the mom in this dance competition or this dance recital. And forgive me, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but and he just gave her that message, and there was that sense of truth that you could see as she, broke into tears, because that was a big memory, and probably something that she had been thinking about, wondering if her mom had saw that. And he had given her that confirmation that she was there for the moments that were in question. So there was, when we know those things, maybe he had heard that message. Maybe she told him. Maybe she showed him with his third eye, and she saw, or he saw the messages that she was relaying through his mind.
Okay.
But he seemed pretty matter of fact. He knew exactly the situation she was talking about.
Yeah. Really good example. And I guess we should clarify for the audience because there's people of all different levels that may be watching this. You mentioned the third eye. Just very briefly, what do you mean by a third eye?
So we've got 7 major chakra centers, which is energy centers, essentially, in our bodies. So going through the body, one of those centers is the third eye. So we've got, throat chakra for the voice that we use, for the words that we use. We've got third eye chakra is our vision, and that's inner vision. So as I touched on earlier, it's the movie screen that is in our minds. It's the ability to see things that are not in the physical.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of had an idea what that was, but again, for those that may not understand the third eye concept, So again, just to kind of recap those six senses, the seeing, we have the hearing, oops, not that one. We have the feeling. Let's talk a little bit because we see this in movies, we see this in TV, and being a medium and being having the ability to channel y- as you're watching TV shows and movies, you must see some truths and some falsities in how they portray channelers. I think of the TV show Medium. Are you familiar with that one?
I have seen it. Yep.
Okay. Can you give us examples of where they portray channelers correctly and then maybe where it's more Hollywood and kind of made up?
I was just gonna say, you know what, TV has a way of making everything Hollywood because nobody wants to buy the boring old truth, right? So they want to make it bigger, better, flashy lights, and make it exciting. And that's part of the for me, it's very normal, it's very natural, it's very, I don't have a lot of props and gimmicks and flashing lights and things like that. But when we look at TV, they want to make it so dramatic and so, people levitating off the ground. And that's really not how it works. It's pretty, like I say, I walk around pretty normal person, and it's just these things happen, and the flashing lights and the people levitating off the ground, or the everybody, I've seen backstage sessions where it's like people are thinking and saying, this is not me, this is not how my life is, but I have to change it to fit the Hollywood screen. So, although there's some truths in all of these movies and all of these stories, Hollywood takes it and makes it movie screen ready. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to look for the truths and use your own intuition into knowing what's right and what's a little bit out there.
Yeah. Again, yes, use your own discernment when you see things on TV and how it's portrayed. Um, I think those of us that are a little bit more intuitive and tapping into that might be able to pick up on it a little bit easier. But remember, it is Hollywood, and sometimes it's created or they create channeling and psychics and mediums in a way just to give you that flash, that quick excitement rather than the actual process. So, all right,
Right.
thank you for that. So let's kind of go into the different ways that energy may channel through us, and yeah, and kind of how is that energy then? When you meet with clients, obviously you have to channel that through yourself to give them, a report or give them an outlook on things. How is that done then?
Yeah. So, and I believe it's different for every intuitive, every psychic, every medium. But, it's one of those things where for me, I look at the client's energy first, and I will ask, it's spirit guided. So I don't have a checklist. I'll ask spirit, my team, to give me the information that's going to help the client on their healing journey, or what is it that they're struggling with that they may need some guidance or some help for. And the team will always come in and never let me down, and they always come in with something unique, something that is sometimes off the wall. And I often will say, this sounds really crazy, but this is what the message is. And it's so once I connect with their energy, spirit will often discuss what's happening in their lives, what are some of their challenges, what are some of the things that they've accomplished, or what is, what spirit proud of, what is spirit guiding us through. And that's essentially done through a form of meditation where, we get into that mind space where we're centered in our mind, and we've got that meditation that tells us this is opening my mind to receive these messages.
Okay. And I think a common one, or one that a lot of people have experienced, are dreams. And this is one that fascinates me because sometimes you dream and they're so realistic, and you feel like it is your real life when you're going through that dream. And then of course you wake up and you can't remember a lot of it. So a lot of people keep diaries and write things down. But when people dream, are they channeling, or is it something completely different?
So dreams are interesting because when we talk about dreams, we're in that state of, subconscious awareness. And we talked a little bit about astral traveling earlier, but that's definitely something that we do, whether we're aware of it or not. We are traveling to different dimensions, to different places. When we have those dreams that feel so real, that's a visitation dream, or that's an astral travel dream where there's actually something happening on another plane or in a different dimension. So it's like we leave our bodies and we go to this other dimension while our body is resting and sleeping, and we're experiencing those things. Some people will come and say, I've had a dream of my dog. My dog came to visit me and it felt so real. Or my grandmother came to visit me in my dream and she gave me a hug and I just know it was real. Those are visitation dreams. So on some plane, those are 100% real. Those are not just dreams. Now, the other part about dreams is the fact that they will give us signs and symbols, meanings, predictions about things that are happening potentially in the future. We could dream about, some people will dream about a car accident, and, the next day something will happen with the car, or, it's some sort of premonition of sorts.
Okay. And again, I find the dream aspect so fascinating. Um, wondering if there is another purpose, or something that these dreams are meant to provide us with in our kind of our regular life. And I remember my mom would have, dream books. And so she'd dream of something and then she'd run and look it up in the book and see what it meant. Do you buy into kind of that aspect of dreams, people in the past that have written these books, and whatever you dream of has this ulterior motive, or is it different?
Yeah, I definitely do. Um, I'm one of those people that whether we're awake or sleeping, I think that there's signs and symbols in everything that we do as long as we're open to seeing it. Now, in terms of dreams having a meaning, yeah, absolutely. So if you dream of um, a monkey, for example, that would be something that would bring you happiness and fun and friendship. And, so if, monkeys symbolize happiness and fun and that childlike behavior. So, if you have a dream of a monkey, that's bringing that happiness into your energy. So, definitely, I think that dreams can be predictive. I think that they don't always mean exactly what they are. So it's a little bit of research can probably help you determine what those dreams are, or reaching out to someone like me who can help you decode it if there's a dream that you can't quite figure out what it means.
Okay, yeah, that, like I said, we could do an entire episode just on dreams. I have so many questions about what dreams are. So, I think I heard you say that when we dream, we possibly could be going into another dimension. Like, is it is it something that is real? Like, are we leaving our bodies and experiencing this existence that we're going through in a dream? Or is it just a bunch of chemical synapses going on in our mind that creates these memories for us? How do you see that playing out?
That's another can of worms because so energy is very real. The only thing that holds us here on this plane is our body that contains us to this space. So when we talk in terms of energy, we're not restricted in this body or this space. We don't need a house. We don't need a car to get around. We can think something and it happens. We can think ourselves to a place. We can, we can go to Mexico in the split second because we can think ourselves there. And, that's very much the same as dreamland, where it's an energy thing, where we're not contained to our body anymore. We allow ourselves to move freely within the universe.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That again, I think it's part of that manifesting where you want to go, what you want to do. And I'm wondering your opinion on, when I was a young kid, and many young kids are really creative and they escape really easy into these other worlds, whether it's playing with their, matchbox cars, or whether it's building a sandcastle, writing something down, drawing. They have the ability to escape. So are these children more intuitive, or do you tend to be more intuitive when you're young, and if you don't develop it you kind of lose that? Or how do you see kind of the growth of someone's intuition?
So children are definitely more intuitive, more open to it. Children don't know that they're not supposed to be able to see spirit, or that they're not supposed to communicate with spirit. That's a behavior that we're taught, that the worlds are separate. So when there's children that have imaginary friends, for example,
Mm.
and who are you talking to? Oh, that's Bobby. That's my imaginary, well, not my imaginary friend, but that's my friend. They don't know that they're not supposed to be able to see those energies. And it's not until we teach them that. So often what happens is children get taught that they're not supposed to see these energies, or talk to these energies, or talk about these energies, or that's just your imagination. And as they're taught that, they transition away from that, and they kind of close that door. So it's very natural for a lot of psychics to close that door and have to reopen it, and reconnect, and just reteach themselves that it's okay to communicate again.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that, adults tend to suppress a lot of that intuitive ability that children have. So moving along to kind of the written aspect of how you receive energy. Maybe kind of go into that, Crystal.
So another common phrase that you can hear when you talk about the intuitive world is automatic writing. So when we talk about automatic writing, that's the process of getting into that meditation state and allowing the pen to write what it's going to write on the paper without your guidance. So, and we can see the Hollywood way of, things going crazy and the messages coming out on the page, but sometimes it's just as simple as writing down the thoughts that enter your mind. And that is spirit that's coming through, allowing those messages to flow. And that is another way of channeling.
Okay. And I guess the last one, and we talked about animals previously, but in terms of, pets, animals, work that into this conversation.
So animals are very intuitive. So animals don't use their words to speak with us. They're going to use their body language. They use telepathy. They use I'm sending these energies to communicate how I'm feeling, basically. And animals are so smart and so intuitive, and they have a lot to teach us. But when we communicate with an animal spirit, for example, someone who has lost their pet horse, um, there's that connection, and they have lessons that they teach each other. So that it's the same as, for me, it's the same as communicating with the human spirit. They can give us messages and lessons and advice just the same as a human spirit would. And animals, because they're so connected to us and they know us so well, they often know what we need um, before we even know what we need.
Okay. And as a medium, as someone that has a lot of practice at this, now that we've gone through kind of the different ways that energy can be channeled, do you find that you're stronger in one area, or as you know, a psychic, do they all kind of just come in whenever, depending on the situation?
Yeah, they're all different. They all just come in. Sometimes I'll ask for the first name of the spirit that you'd like to connect with first, because sometimes people have so many that are standing behind them that but quite often what'll happen is spirit just comes in, and they'll come in either with a phrase or a thought, or they'll give me a vision, or they'll show me the baked bread smell, to let me know that they're here, and that allows us to hook in. Sometimes they'll show me a number, and the number doesn't mean anything to me until we talk about what the number means to the client, and that's where trusting is so important, because I have to trust that everything spirit's giving me is true. And even if I maybe don't know what that number means, that's going to be something that means something to the client, and trusting that is really a big deal. So animals, same thing. We think animals don't know math, animals don't know how to spell, but you know what? Animals are a lot smarter and more intelligent than we give them credit for, because they are part of everything that we do.
And we've all seen videos of, the counting horse, or the counting dog, or, cats being able to, pick up on something, and you go, how did they know that? How did they know to go over there or to meow at this point? So the fact
Yeah.
that you say that animals are intuitive, really interesting, because I don't think a lot of people would see that an animal being intuitive. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Very interesting.
with Halloween coming up very soon, and the lore with spirits and mediums and psychics and all these things that revolve around Halloween, ghosts, what can you tell us about the connection between Halloween, either present or past, and what you do?
So the history of Halloween is called Samhain. So that's the other part of it is Samhain and Halloween. But Halloween historically is when the veil thins between the two worlds. So what that means is it's actually easier to connect with spirit on the other side, because that veil is thinner. Historically, the pumpkins are carved. Some places use turnips, but the pumpkins are carved as jack-o'-lanterns to light up the darkness, to keep the evil spirits away while that veil is so thin. Also, there's, all of the scary things that you see, but the costumes and the masks that people were worn for protection, because the veil was thin and they could see the spirits from the other side really easily during those times. So now
Oh,
today we still have those beliefs, or those, we celebrate it more than a ritual now, but definitely that veil being thin makes it a lot less effort to connect to the other side.
okay. So would you say it's, only on that day, or is there like a window of kind of a week before, a week after? Like, where do you see that veil, in terms of the boundaries?
Definitely leading up, so that week leading up, you're going to feel the difference, and the week after, that the midnight hour should be very magical, and that should be the actual hour of communication, or where the veil is the thinnest. But definitely leading up to it and leading away from it, is a window. So it's not just, nope, if you miss the midnight, it's not happening. There's definitely an energetic window there for sure.
Okay. And, a lot of times people, when they refer to Halloween and, spirits, a lot of times there's that evil component that Halloween brings out the evil demons and the spirits, and this portal opens, and that's the time of the year where evilness kind of creeps into our world a little bit. Do you see it that way? Are there, portals that open during this Halloween time, or is it simply just energy, good or bad, that is more likely to come into our world during those couple weeks?
So yeah, definitely it's a portal. It's an energy that, comes in, and the energy is different around that time. Now, in terms of evil spirits coming in, that's a little bit about the history and, the jack-o'-lanterns and the costumes and, everyone protecting themselves for centuries about this time because of the veil being so thin. Now, I believe that it doesn't matter what time of year it is, self protection is very important. So, anytime I'm going to work with spirit, I protect myself with white light. I protect my clients with white light. And I simply set the intention that there is nothing of lower energy that's allowed to come in my space. So I only allow messages to come through for good and positive to help us grow and help us heal and help us be advancing on our journey, I suppose.
Okay, yeah. So again, it comes down to what you want to see, what you want to happen, what you want to manifest. And if you're always manifesting and seeing, evil spirits and the negative, then that's what you're going to get. But if you
Yeah.
see positive and channel the things you do want to see, then you will get that. Am I correct?
Yeah, and I see it much like I would talk about somebody who maybe a neighbor that, is always cussing and swearing and throwing things, and I don't want to talk to that person, so I'm not going to. It's all about boundaries, whether it's this world or the other world. Boundaries are important. And if I don't want to be around that energy, I'm simply not allowing it into my space.
Okay, well said. Well, Crystal, so much for the viewers and myself to kind of wrap our head around. And I know I have a much better understanding of what channeling is, the methods of channeling, how the energy is transferred, to us. And I know that this 1 hour video isn't encompassing everything about the topic. But if people want to reach out to you and have kind of a private session, if they want to connect with a past loved one, a pet, the services that you provide, maybe just kind of we'll go through your website a little bit about what kind of services you do offer. So maybe talk about some of those things for us.
For sure. So my most popular session is the full session. So that's the 1 hour session. We sit down for an hour. We usually go a little bit longer because if we're not done, we're not done. We'll we just keep going till we're done. Um, but that includes, I check out your energy. We talk to loved ones. We do a card spread. It's very detailed. It goes into depth, and like I say, it's a whole hour. It focuses on your journey, on um, your goals. What are your loved ones saying about what's going on in your life? It often is very healing experience to come through from your loved ones. Okay. Um, that's the most popular one. That one also includes a spirit animal reading. So, as an added bonus, and that's usually why we go over, I give you a report of animal spirit properties that are guiding you and helping you and in your space right now. So, you'll get that report, and that will often change every time we meet. So, you'll have different things that you're working on. that will be guided by different animals. So if you've got, some things that you're working on career wise, you'll have a different animal guidance as opposed to something relationship wise.
Okay, so let me just cut in for a second here because I hear
Sure.
people saying, the leopard is my spirit animal or the polar bear is my spirit animal. Is that what you're talking about here, where people have a specific animal that they're more strongly connected with?
That is a thing. So I feel like we are born with, totem spirit animals, just the same as we're born with spirit guides. This is more specific to what medicine can the animal world offer us? What advice, what strengths can we tune into? What can we ask them to help us with? So this is going to be different than your leopard totem that you're born with. It's going to be something that's specific to right now. What is some guidance that you can use moving forward over the next little lesson that you're
Oh,
working through?
okay. And so if people only want to book, a half hour session, how does that differ from the full hour?
Definitely half an hour is another option. It does not include the spirit animal report. And it does still include, the all about you energy, the spirit guidance, and the card reading. It's in a lot less depth than the full 1 hour. But if you just are looking for something quick or something on less of a budget, definitely an option. The question sometimes comes up, do I need a half an hour or do I need an hour? I'll always tell you that we can always fill up an hour. So I set the time schedule and, we just go until we reach our time, basically. So, um,
Okay.
yeah, definitely some different options.
And then I see another service that you do as well is the soul profile and realignment. I haven't heard of that before, so go into what that would all encompass.
This is more of a specialty reading. It's, some people will do the full session and then want to come and learn more. This is who you are at a soul level. So this one is a pretty big reading. It actually comes with either a 6 or 8 page report about your soul. What are your soul gifts? What are some concerns that you've been pulling through from life to life to life and maybe blocking you? So, some people may have a financial blockage, for example, and not realize that this is following them from life to life to life. So, we work on clearing that energy out so that you can live your best potential without those blocks and restrictions.
Okay. And how about some of the other maybe popular services that people contact you about that you provide?
So we have the parties are really getting big. So when we talk about reading parties, you'll get a group of friends together and we'll sit down and you can have your wine and then one by one they can come and have a private reading, which is generally the way most people do it. And it's just healing for everybody. And then they go back to the group and they'll share their stories. And at the end of the night, we all gather together and I teach you how to be intuitive. I teach you how to tune into your intuition, some exercises that you can do to learn to trust your intuition. Um, and it's very subtle, of course, but learning to trust it is practice, really.
Wow, that is something that is I could see being, becoming more and more popular where yeah, you just attend, a group of people getting together. And as you said, minimum six participants. You spend about 30 minutes with each person. And then they go and they share their stories and they have their beverages. And that must be a fun thing for you to do because you see more than one person and you're kind of part of this party atmosphere.
Yeah, it's great, jumping in and you meet so many amazing people and they're in their comfort zone, so they're not coming to me in a big setting outside of their comfort zone. They're in their comfort zone having fun with their friends and their family or Christmas parties or weddings, whatever it is. But it's always a good time.
Well, and I mean, you go to a movie and you spend, $30 between the popcorn and the ticket and all those other kind of things. Here, you can even do the lowest reading, a 15-minute session with each person, and it's, pretty much the same price as going to a movie, or, a
Exactly.
lot cheaper than going to a hockey game or these other big, theatrical kind of events. And here you learn something about yourself and about your friends.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic time. And I accommodate the time. So it's almost fully customizable where, they can choose their time frame. They can choose, so essentially if they are on a budget, they can choose a 15-minute reading and still participate. They can choose their time, and what I do is I reserve the full day for parties so that if they've got more participants that want to come, we just start earlier.
Okay. And how far would people need to book in advance for something like that?
Right now, I am fully booked until Christmas, so I am booking after Christmas now.
Okay. Very well. Very good. Okay. So if you do want to book a party kind of reading for you and your guests, three different options that you can consider. And again, you have the information. I'll leave a link to it in the video below. Contact Crystal on her website. Before we finish off, just a few other things that you offer as well, the life coaching sessions. Now, these are a lot more pricier, but this may be another avenue that people want to go down. Maybe talk a little bit about your life coaching sessions.
So when we talk about life coaching, um, people generally have some emotions, some things that they're working through, some hurdles that they're trying to get over. So we can do a single session, and this is typically based on all about you. So, not necessarily focused on getting the mediumship portion, although sometimes loved ones can come in and help us with advice and messages. This is not focused on connecting with the other side. This is focused on you and your healing journey and getting past those hurdles. So I offer those in either single sessions, or they come in different session numbers. So you can get 3 sessions or 6, or you can get once a month for a year. So that we can work on whatever it is that you're trying to get over or past or through or accomplish. And we can work through those with spirit's help.
Okay. And that's something that when people book, again, what is kind of the timeline for their first session if they want to book one of those?
If they want to book right now, yeah, my schedule's getting pretty tight. So I would suggest contact me sooner rather than later. It is a super busy time of year for me. So, and I've got some specials that are coming out, which is going to add to the busyness. But yearly I do certain specials, so that'll be coming out here soon as well.
Okay. And things we didn't touch on in this episode, but maybe in a future episode. And if you guys want to see more and hear more from Crystal, please leave a comment. What kind of questions do you have? What kind of material would you like us to cover in terms of the medium and the spiritual world? I know another service that you provide. Now, we have cards and we have readings. Are these tarot cards or a different type of reading?
I have traditional tarot cards as well. Typically, I use the oracle cards more often than not because they, they just speak to me better. Tarot cards, same thing, but yeah, definitely same thing. Tarot cards are more serious, more heavy hitting. Although, having said that, when we look at oracle cards like what you've got up on the screen right now, oracle cards can give us the exact same message because I intuitively receive the messages. So I can have two cards the same for two different people, and it actually means two different things because I read intuitively.
Okay. And if people don't want the full hour session, which includes the spirit animal component, they can book just the spirit animal session with you as well.
Exactly. They can book that, and that would still get them the report. That would still get them, and we discuss what it is, what it talks about, what it means. And these are spirit guided, so it's not shuffling a card deck and pulling a card. This is spirit. Please tell me what message is or what animal is representing the energy in the person's life. So it's 100% spirit guided.
Yeah, that's definitely one I'd be interested in. Which animal am I most connected with? Hopefully, it's not like, some sort of rodent. But there tend to be more prevalent animals that people are connected to, or is it, just pretty much random?
It's pretty random. So quite often I'll get two animals that come in and they'll say, there's two energies, and you could have a mouse and a tiger. You could have a skunk and a turtle. Completely unrelated, but the energetic properties could be similar, or the energetic properties could be moving from one stage of your life to the next. So one animal could be representing what's happening now and in the past, and one could represent the energy to tune into in the future. So definitely do not have to be the same type of animals.
Okay. And then at towards the bottom, and you have, many other services as well, with the pendulum, some Reiki sessions, intuitive color art reading, and handwriting. Maybe talk a little bit about what people can expect if they purchase those.
So handwriting analysis is another fun way. I'll give you a little blurb to write in your handwriting. And then what we do is we analyze it together, and I'll show you what the different shapes mean. What do the different strokes mean? How is your writing reflecting your personality? So it's really fun. I've actually done parties where people just want to do the handwriting analysis and the cards. They're not quite sure about the mediumship yet, so they choose different options. So definitely a fun way to do that. The color art is is like a channeled piece of art that I'll do, and I'll, just allow it to come through on the page, and then after I'll analyze what it means and how does it represent what's happening in your life. So it's really cool how the shapes and strokes and colors will represent different things that are happening in your life. So
Okay. And with the pendulum, I would imagine that simply the client asks you questions, and then the pendulum will point to a yes or no answer. Am I correct with that?
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be yes, no, maybe, or undecided, and of course that's an intuitive thing as well. So
And that's something that
anybody,
can be done at parties too.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. What would you say are your two most popular bookings in the last, say, 6 to 8 months?
So parties are getting up there, but I'm going to say the full 1 hour session is hands down easy 80% of what I do. And then the 30-minute session is another popular one as well. So people just wanting that variety of things during their session, and wanting to talk to their loved ones as well as get advice for what's happening in their lives. So
Okay. And again, if you want to book any of these services that Crystal provides, go to her website. You can contact her through the website or through email. Her email is CrystalGwenSpiritualMedium at gmail.com. Or you can go right on the website, and if you book a session, there will be a form to fill out. Am I correct with that?
yeah, you betcha. And if your viewers want to mention that they saw this episode, just send me a little note. Let me know that you've seen this episode, and I will give you a 10% discount on whatever it is that you purchase. So try to book that before the end of the year, because I'm going to hold that open till December 31st.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Crystal. So there you have it. If you want to book any of the sessions that Crystal offers, if you do that before December 31st of this year, Crystal will give you 10% off your purchase. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for offering that. Just make sure you mention that you saw the Life in Alberta video, or just in your email or note when you're booking, just mention Life in Alberta and Krista will give you that 10% off. What a wonderful,
absolutely.
wonderful offering to the audience. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, other than the website and booking that way, are you appearing anywhere in the next couple months where people can kind of walk in and have any of these services provided?
Yeah, so I'm a little behind right now. I typically am really strict with myself about having all my events listed. That's part of my homework this weekend is to try and get my events uploaded. Facebook, website, I'm going to advertise both places where I am going to be. This coming Sunday, October 30th, I'm in Nisku at the Nisku Wellness event over at the Airways Country Inn from 10 till 4. That's a fantastic event. I've done it before. It's an amazing venue. The people are great. Then in November 12th and 13th, I am at the Holborn Market. So that's just outside of Stony Plain.
Okay.
And then I'm in Stony Plain at the Heritage Pavilion on November 18th and 19th. That's a Friday night and then a Saturday during the day. And then I'm in Edmonton, Nisku, and Stony Plain in December. So quite a busy schedule, but check my website, check the Facebook page for, the exact dates and times, addresses, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So Crystal is going to be around at a lot of places over the next couple months. And is this walk in where they can just come in and if you're not busy, they can sit down, or should they be contact and specifying which event and kind of the time they would like their reading?
I always give the option of pre-booking. So if you want to come at a certain time, you can message me and I will reserve a spot for you. If you're just walking through and not in a hurry, you have all the time in the world, I've usually got a sign up sheet. You can just stop by. So either way works. Whatever your timeline is, if you have a specific time you're going to be around, just let me know. I'll try and accommodate you.
All right. That sounds like a lot of opportunities. And I will get the information from Crystal about where she's going to be and the time she's going to be. I'll put that again in the information in the box underneath the video. So if you want to go and see Crystal live and see her at one of these events and venues, that information will be down below.
Yeah,
Any
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and again, I'm assuming that if people book at a venue before December 31st, they'll still get that 10% off?
Yeah, if they mention this show, absolutely 10%, no questions.
Great. Excellent. So there you guys go. You can save 10% on any of the services that Crystal offers, whether you book a personal session or whether you see her at one of the venues. Uh, every little bit helps. And thank you again, Crystal, for offering that kind of coupon for our viewers. Before we go, how about we do kind of a channeled message for the collective? I know we talked off air and you said you'd be willing to kind of do this to close off our show today. So I'm kind of curious how, you go about doing this. So I'll just let you take over and lead this ending to our video.
So I'm not going to levitate out of the chair. um, but what happens now when we want to ask spirit for some advice or some information that'll help us on our journey? Okay, so when I connect with spirit, I set an intention. So my intention today is going to be just ask spirit for some advice for all of us. What is something that will help us to get through our lives a little easier or something that'll help us in the future? Okay, so um, and I'm just going to take whatever spirit gives us. So spirit says, remember to take time for the people that you love in your life. Take time for your loved ones. Don't wait. until it's too late to tell someone you love them or to give that person a hug. One day you'll remember that this is a gift. So that their presence is their most powerful gift. So don't pass up that opportunity.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And again, that is just a small sample of information that you can get if you book a session with Crystal. Thank you so much, Crystal, for popping in for a coffee talk episode. Got my coffee here, and hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope you get a lot of viewers contacting you, because I think the services you provide, provide a lot of self-healing for people and may answer a lot of questions that they have about the spiritual world and loved ones that, may have passed on, or pets that may have passed on. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful service that you provide. So thank you so much again for joining us today. Any kind of closing comments that you have, Crystal?
Well, I want to say thank you for having me. First of all, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions at all, just reach out to me. Sometimes this is new to people. And if you want to give it a try to see what it feels like, see what it is, stop by one of the markets or one of the venues that I'm working at, because I offer the 15-minute short sample sessions. And that'll give you a nice feel to know if you want to do a bigger session. Maybe you want more. Maybe that's enough, you know. But there's always something good that comes out of our sessions. Don't worry about it being scary or woo woo. It's pretty natural, pretty, pretty off the cuff is what it is, right? But yeah, it's a fantastic experience that is either good for entertainment or your healing journey.
Wow, so much more I could ask you. And again, I hope to have you on in the future to maybe delve into some other areas, maybe with the cards, maybe some tarot, maybe more about the spirit animals. Um, for the viewers out there, I'm building up my intuition. I'm improving on that. I feel like I have a lot of those channeling abilities that I'm trying to tap into. And I met Crystal at a venue, and I just intuitively had this really good feeling about her, that she's genuine, that she's doing everything out of love and support for you, and that she really wants to provide services that give you a better quality of life. And that's why I invited her on the channel. I'm so glad I did, and thank you again so much, Crystal, for joining us on Coffee Talk today.
Thank you for having me. We will meet again.
All right. Leave a comment, guys. Show your support. Contact Crystal if you have any questions. Like she says, she can give you kind of samples as well. Before you buy something and spend, money, you can kind of get an idea of the services that she provides. Go check her out at one of the venues and have these conversations with her. Everyone that I see leaving her table when I've seen her at work always comes with a smile on their face. And I can tell that they are really glad that they went to talk with her. So thank you again. Life in Alberta on YouTube. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And once again, thanks, Crystal. We'll see you in a future episode.
We'll see you later.
Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to this Coffee Talk episode. Thank you again, Crystal. Crystal offers authentic sessions that are supportive and coach-based, often highlighting and validating what you already know to be true at a soul level. Her sessions are delivered with a sense of positivity and realism, and she gently guides you on your path. Thanks once again for spreading the energy, the positive messages. And again, please support her. Go check out her website, book a session with her, and get that 10% off for mentioning you saw her video on Life in Alberta. Leave a like, share, subscribe. help a small channel in Alberta grow. Thank you once again. And if you're interested in crystals and the positivity and how crystals can be self-healing, and you want to learn a little bit more about how to access some of these crystals, check out the video that I have linked up here. A great interview I had a few weeks ago with Anita, an expert on everything there is to know about crystals. Have a wonderful day, evening, afternoon, wherever you may be, and we'll see you on the next Coffee Talk episode.